Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. I think it's safe to say that COVID-19 has had a definite impact on our livelihoods here in Hong Kong over the last 2 years. We have a lot of friends and colleagues that are looking to sell up. They're at the juncture of whether or not to move their families back home and go with them and start a new career or stay here. And this video actually answers two questions, specifically with the retirement fund, if it is safe in Hong Kong's framework, and number two is if they were to calculate the Provident Fund, if they were staying or leaving, how much that would be. Let's have a look. So on top of COVID measures that are really restrictive here in Hong Kong, you additionally have companies that are degrading their packages and making it very tough for employees as well because they have to conform with government regulation. So basically, people are saying, is it safe? Can the company who's not doing so well financially reach their hand into our retirement fund and access that? And the short answer is no, they can't. It is very, very safe. And the three parties that are involved are the company or the employer, the trustee, and the governing body. So for the employer, basically upon your employment, you're offered either a MPF or an ORSO. There's only two recognized retirement schemes in Hong Kong, the MPF, which is the Mandatory Provident Fund, or the ORSO, which is the Occupational Retirement Schemes Ordinance. One is sort of about 5%, the other one's 10 to 15%. All those contributions that go into that as your retirement fund monthly goes directly to the trustee, so no, the employer cannot touch any of that. Okay, so who and what is a trustee? Well, according to Investopedia, a trustee is basically a person or firm that holds or administers all the assets for the benefit of a third party, in which case this is you. So it's clearly defined. It has fiduciary responsibility, and if we look at the word fiduciary, basically it's a person or organization that acts on behalf of another person, putting their client's interests ahead of their own with the duty to preserve good faith and trust. So this actually requires to be bound both legally and ethically to act in the other's best interest. And that's basically the qualities of a trustee. And if we look at the MPFA, or Mandatory Provident Fund Schemes Authority webpage, there's actually a list of all the trustees that are approved in Hong Kong. And with this, you see there's various different companies. These are both MPF and ORSO, and they hold different schemes. They have all these different schemes that are all regulated and issued under the trustee with various different services. Specifically, HSBC Fund Trustee is the one that I have. In this case, it's the Provident Fund Trustee, and it has all their details, addresses, numbers, etc. So that is the trustee who holds all the money. And so the governing body is actually the MPFA, which is the Mandatory Provident Funds Association, which is an extension of the government. And basically, it oversees all the conduct of all the institutions that are involved. For example, if your employer doesn't pay into your Provident Fund or your MPF at the right time or with the right amount, all the complaints are lodged here. And it actually has a list of these offenses that could be criminal and its enforcement actions. So, if you click any of these, you'll see it publicly that X company did not pay X amount of dollars on a certain date to, has a shortfall of X amount. And so these are actually quite prevalent recently due to COVID-19. Perhaps the companies are not doing as well. As well, if you were to switch employers, there's regulations on that here as well. All right, so now that you know who's involved in managing your retirement fund, namely the employer, the trustee, and also the governing body, the MPFA, it's actually very, very safe here in Hong Kong. So now you have to decide if you were to stay or to leave, what's that process and how much it's worth. So I've actually created a document on this a few years ago. Specifics on your specific company, you'll have to have a look at, but this one's based on the Cathay Pacific one. I've made it because there were a lot of friends that were leaving at the time and I wanted to help them and summarize it nicely for them. And so in this document, we have a look at winding up or basically surrendering this Provident Fund and what the process is and how it's going to actually work. So you have to know if you're going to stay in Hong Kong and retire early, or if you're going to leave Hong Kong entirely. And if you were to leave Hong Kong permanently, basically it's very easy. You get everything. But it's based on a vesting percentage. So there's a scale for this, and basically every 1 year is 10%. So 10 years is 100%. Now, apart from working or being employed less than 1 year, you don't get 1%. Okay, so employment contract of your own company needs to be looked at for the specifics. However, roughly all of them work like this. So basically, it's just a percentage, 30% for 3 years, 40% for 4 years, times that member balance. The member balance is basically the employer's contribution. If you contributed extra, which is your own member contribution, then you would get that at 100% in its entirety. So option number 2 is basically staying in Hong Kong or maybe even seeking employment with another company. And so there's a factor that comes into play here, which is actually called preservation. This is basically set up by the government that they want you to have some sort of retirement scheme or retirement amount at your retirement. And to calculate this is actually what we call an MMB, or a minimum MPF benefit. And it's a lesser of 2 calculations shown here, which is basically 2 times your final average monthly relevant income times the number of years of service, or your vesting balance plus your member balance. Now remember what we said about the vesting balance, that is the number of years you have times the employer's contribution. The member balance is actually what you've put in from day one, so that's 100% yours. So the calculation of the MMB is the lesser of these 2, and that has to be retained by the government and say that you have to transfer that to a recognized MPF scheme in Hong Kong and only take that at retirement age. So you can take the bulk of it, works out to be about 90% you can take, roughly about 10% is this MMB. So you can take the bulk of it, but you have to leave an MMB here in Hong Kong. So option 1, I've detailed it here, which is to remain in Hong Kong. The MMB is transferred to a government MPF scheme. You access the funds transferred to your personal account, okay? And then for option 2, if you depart Hong Kong, the eligible vested benefit plus your member's contribution is both paid out to you. So those are the 2 options. So details about the ORSO MMB calculation are actually found on the MPFA website as well. So they have basically a description of what it is as well as the calculation methods. Now I also have some examples on my own document, which I'll also link in the description below for you. But basically you need to transfer this MMB amount, whatever that comes to, into a MPF provider. And if we have a look at the different schemes that are offered by the various MPF providers, one being Sun Life, which is where I'm actually licensed at, the Rainbow scheme, but you have many, many to choose from. And each has its different fund basket and fund performances. All right, so in conclusion, know that your retirement fund in Hong Kong is very safe. It's governed. Your employer cannot dip his or her hand into it. But you need to understand the vesting percentage and also if the MMB applies to you. So basically, if you're cashing out, you're looking at, maybe selling your property and taking that amount, as well as combining it with the retirement fund and knowing what that's going to be, and basically leaving Hong Kong or staying. So if you are leaving or staying, know that there's no capital gains tax in Hong Kong. So if you were to look to further grow your asset, which you've built up all these years, maybe check out one of our videos on the safest investment. Thanks again for watching this to the very end. I hope you found it useful, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you.